Hey, family, and welcome back to episode 25 of Heavy with Lala, the space where real faith meets real life. I'm your host, Lala, and around here we talk about heavy stuff. The podcast is all about bridging the gap between new believers and the old church. We're peeling back the layers of tradition, religion, and expectation to rediscover what it really means to live a Christ centered life without losing your identity. Because here's the truth: in order to walk in unity with Christ, you have to let go of that old person, the version of yourself that's shaped by shame, fear, and survival. You got to put off your old self. And you have to become a new person, created like God in His true holiness and righteousness. So whether you're just starting your faith walk or you're learning religion to find relationship, this is your space. Each week, we dive into honest conversation, biblical truth, and real life steps to help you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually become the best version of who God created you to be. So, this is Heavy with Lala. Let's get into it. So, welcome back to another episode. Tonight's conversation is close to my heart. We're actually going to be interviewing the incredible Brittany Jenkins-Morrow. She's the founder of NextSeat Innovations. Her story reminds me that God always has a seat prepared for us, even when we cannot see it. So, welcome, Brittany.
Hey, hey, everyone. Hey, Lala.
Hi, girl. How are you feeling tonight?
I am good. It was a long day,
Oh
but
yeah,
I
always.
am I am good. Yes, I am good though. I'm good. I'm happy to be here, happy to engage with you and your audience.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so crazy. I was looking at my calendar today, and I think because I've been so busy, something said it was like Monday, and I'm like, today Monday? Because I don't know what day I thought it
Right.
was, but I didn't think it was Monday. But thank you so much
Yeah.
for joining me tonight. So before we get into your story, what is one thing that you think that God is teaching you this season? Because that's the question. Because it's always
Mm.
a blessing in the lessons. What do you think God is teaching you?
So, if there is one thing I think God is teaching me, I would say it is twofold. I would say one is trusting him, totally
Mhm. Come on
trusting
now.
him, which is so hard. Um, I know people will say, just trust the Lord, or, it becomes a cliche to say it. Not saying
Yeah.
that you should not, but I
Yeah.
think the misconception is that it happens overnight, and it does not.
Come on.
Tr-
That's the thing, Brittany. That people think that it happens overnight, and I say this all the time, is that sometimes people, they want to have a relationship with God, but I think that they're looking at other people's relationship, how they shout and how they praise and what they're doing in church, and they compare it to what they're currently doing. And that's not how
Absolutely.
it is. It doesn't happen over. It's an everyday commitment to saying yes to God.
Yes. Yes. I definitely agree. And I like to take the things that are spiritual and be able to truly relate them to our day-to-day lives, because I feel like we get a better understanding of that. And
Yeah.
so when thinking about trusting God, you think about, in the natural, trusting a friend or a spouse or a mate. That doesn't happen overnight. It just doesn't. As much as sometimes we want to, and I think God, He knows us, right? So He knows our
Girl,
heart. And so He
he
knows
knows
when
the
we
real
truly are
us.
trusting Him and where we're
Yeah.
not. And He's so gentle, right? Because He don't always
Yeah.
put us on blast, and He could, but
He
He doesn't
could.
always put us on blast, but it takes time to develop that. And I feel that trusting him truly comes from a relationship, and that relationship will look different. And I always tell people the relationship that you have with God doesn't have to make sense to me, it has to make sense to
Makes sense to
you
you,
and
baby.
him.
That's
That-
it.
that's it. Because when your eyes close, it's not going to be me and you. It's going to be
It's
you
not.
before the Father. Do you have a
It's not.
relationship with Him?
That's what
He's
I'm
not going to want to
saying.
hear what Brittany said. It's our relationship. Then that's the
Hmm.
vital piece. So I would say trusting, but I also would say something that God has been pushing me to understand more is timing,
Come, come
and
on now.
really understanding, the gift of time.
Hmm.
But time is not forever, you
Yeah.
know, it's just, it's not. And so I know one day he spoke to me, and this was so just shocking in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, listen, I don't have time to wait on you any longer.
Girl,
This thing is happening. What I've called you to do is happening. I don't have time for you, to continue to try to digest. Am I called? Am I not? Did I hear the Lord? Did I not? And it was just like such a firmness from him. But like, I don't have any more time for that. So you're going to have to go into this season. You're going to have to walk into whatever called you to do, because time is not forever. Every man is allotted amount of time here on this side. And there's things we have to
yeah.
do in that time. And so I would say, one, yes, trusting him fully, but two, also understanding the gift of time, and stop stutter stepping, stop
Girl,
waiting, stop going back and forth with yourself, and get it done because you're on the time clock.
come on, preach, preacher.
Clock.
Brittany, I say that all the time. People be playing games with God, and the thing is, God can move without us. Let's be very
Yes.
clear. He can move without us, but the thing is, we don't have to partner with him. As a matter of fact, he doesn't need us to at all.
Right.
He wants us to.
Right.
So when we don't partner with him, it's like, okay, are you going to do it or are you not? Because that's
Hmm.
the same thing happened to me during my season of when I was running. But the thing is, he sent somebody else, and this lady came and told me that same exact thing. Scared me half to death because I wasn't used to prophets come. I didn't really know what a prophet was, but just know that
Hmm.
this lady, just random woman, just came up and just knew everything about my life. It was very scary and surreal to me, and like it's just like it came back in a circle. Everything that she said was gonna happen happened
Hmm.
for me.
Yeah.
But even before all that, so Brittany, we were talking offline, and I was telling you about how my podcast is to bridge the gap between the old church and the new church. So before all the titles, because you have a lot of accomplishments, so um who were you before you were this person? Who were you in Christ?
So let me go back. The way that I found Christ was not traditional. I grew up in the church. My mom was and still is a minister, so I grew up going to church. Sunday back when we used to have Sunday evening service,
Come on now,
Bible
Sunday evening.
study, noonday prayer. When the last time you been to a good solid noonday prayer? Noonday prayer, like that was my life, because that was
Yeah,
what I was brought up in. So no, the knowing of God and Christ was always there, but it wasn't
yeah.
until I got into my adulthood that I
Mm-hmm.
really began to understand more. And
Yeah.
so, quick story, one night I go out with my girlfriends and we go
Mm-hmm.
to a party, and we get to the party and we're inside, we're by the bar, we're partying. I have to go to
Yeah.
the restroom. So I said, all right, I'll be back and go to the restroom. Well, in order to get to the restroom, you have to go through this door.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are even listening to this podcast, they remember exactly what I'm talking about. But you have to go through this door, and the door is kind of heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So once you kind of go through it, watch it, it'll kind of slam a little bit because of the weight of the door. Well, the
Yeah.
door slammed, and I didn't do it on purpose, but the bouncer thought I did. And so he kicks me out of the club.
Come
And
on,
so I
Jesus.
was the driver that night. So
Mm-hmm.
I told them, hey, I'm going to have to take you guys to your cars. You're going to have to come back because I can't go back into this club. So that happens. And, I drop them off and they go back to the club, and I head home. And I am driving down the highway, and a presence comes into the car. And I hear a voice, and the voice says, all right, it is time. And I was not saved at all, but I knew who that was. I knew the
Yeah.
voice. Everything in me knew who the voice was. And the Lord says to me, He said, it's time. Your time has come. It's time for you to come out of the world. But when He said that, it was like a internal alarm clock that went off, like, yep, this the time. This was the time. It was
Yeah.
already predestined from the
Yeah.
beginning. This was going to be the time for you. And so he began to minister me, and I felt like the Lord ministered me all the way home, because by the time I got to the first red light, I was sobbing. And so I'm driving home
Uh,
at the time. I'm living with my parents. I'm an adult. I'm living with my parents. I went to college. I got pregnant, so I came back home. So I'm living with my parents, and I'm going home. And I felt like the Lord just ministered to me the entire night, and I was just sobbing. But what was so unique was, although I was a sinner, I knew it was him when he spoke. Everything in my body knew it was him when he spoke to me. And so before Christ, I was just extremely lost, even though I grew up in the
Mhm.
church. I knew of God, knew of Christ, but did not have a relationship until that encounter. And that was back in 2008. And I can tell you, it has been a ride, ups and
Yeah.
downs, right? Valleys, mountaintops, all of that. Lots of mistakes, lots of falls.
Yeah.
But it has been such a just breath of fresh air to have a relationship, not have to hide who I am, even the
Yeah.
bad stuff, to be able to have that relationship. So before Christ, very lost, knew of, but did not have a relationship.
And that's amazing because this is the thing. Like, I think that I was talking to Shaylin the other day, and I was telling her, I said, a while back you posted something because sometimes, and we were talking about like when people see you, they see you as like that past person, don't see you as the current
Mhm.
person who you are. And I was like, girl, I said, it doesn't matter how people see me, I'm still called. It
Yep.
doesn't matter how people
Yep.
see me. It doesn't matter how they see me. God know who I am. They don't have to know. Eventually they'll
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
sometimes in a season, like when God took you through that, he takes you through that season and he takes you through like the isolation because he wants us to have a relationship with him.
Mhm.
He knows what he needs us to do in the earth. He knows the people. He already has that set people for us to meet. He has the people that we're going to make a mark on us. Like he has all of that predestined. In order for that to happen for us, we got to move how he wants us to move.
Yes.
He's very strategic in the
Yes.
things that he does for us. Because even if you think about up until that moment, all that stuff that happened, like when the seas were fulfilled in order for him to go to the cross, all of that stuff had to happen. Even the prophecy with
Mhm.
um when what is it, when they were going in the desert and
Mhm.
they had the donkeys. Sometimes like that stuff, like we think of it as like a setback and like all of that stuff, because I always say, hey, if I knew then about Christ and my relationship, I would be so much further along. Even like in my preaching style and my teaching style, if more knowledgeable back then, like if I had more knowledge, I feel like I would be further along now. But I'm exactly where
Yep.
he wants me. I don't have all the knowledge of what the Bible is like, and I don't think anybody does.
No.
But I feel like the knowledge that I do have is for a specific set of people that he
Mhm.
created for me to be able to minister to. So during your walk
Yes.
or during like your first when you first when God first ministered to you and said that you were called, did you ever question like, God, is this what you created for me or is what you have for me? Because sometimes we do question like, God, is this real? Like this what you want me to
Absolutely. And still do. And still I'll be like, are you sure?
do? Sure.
I'm not cookie cutter, so I'm like, are you sure? I'm not, I have a past and I have things in my past and I often ask, like, are you sure? So absolutely. During
Yeah.
that time, I definitely was like, okay, salvation, cool. So this mean I'm a shoe in, right? Like it ain't gonna get to the gate and there ain't gonna be no static, right? That's what this means.
I
So
know, right?
even
Because I want no
yeah,
smoke
yeah,
when
yeah.
I get up there.
So yeah, so even with that, it was just like, okay, so
Yeah.
all right, I received salvation. Cool. So all right, what's next? And I think for me, I grew up in the church.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say a super traditional church, but pretty traditional. But
Hmm.
I wasn't a traditional person. I just never was. Me and my mom is like night and day. She's very button up and conservative. I hate stockings. Um, I hate stockings. She's the reason for that. So she's very
Yeah.
conservative. But for me, it was just like this is happening, and I'm gonna be real transparent. Once I had that experience, I started having dreams. I mean, I
Oh
would
yeah.
have dreams all the time. And it was like, what is this? Because I'm coming from more of a traditional background. I didn't ever hear the term prophet or apostle, or I
Yeah.
didn't hear these terminologies. So all this stuff was just new to me. And so luckily, as God would have it, I ended up sitting under a leader who
Yeah.
truly understood the different offices and, understood dreams and how these things are some ways, not the only way that God communicates, and he shows us things to
Yeah.
come and things like that. And so just having that time in a ministry was so vital. And you said something earlier that I wanted to piggyback on. What I didn't tell you is that I did go into isolation after
Mhm.
salvation,
Yeah.
after receiving salvation. And my friends, if they were on here, they'll be like, yeah, we thought she was going crazy because she just kind of ghosted us,
Yeah.
um, you know,
That's
and
usually
stepped
what happens.
away. And I'm not talking about stepping away for months. I was detached for some years. And so
Yeah.
during that time, I would, feel sad in my natural self, because I'm like, oh, but those
Yeah.
are my friends, and the Lord would always remind me, gonna come back together. It's just at this point, I need you to be here. I need you to be taught. I need you
Yeah.
to learn. There's things that I have for you to get in this season, and a season
Yeah.
again wasn't a couple weeks, it wasn't a couple months. We're talking about years. And just as God would have it, he's not an author of confusion. So the
Mhm.
relationships, they came back together and they mended.
That's amazing. And that's usually what happened. Like for a season, it has to be you and God, because
Yeah.
sometimes like he can't listen to you. You can't hear him when you have outside noise in.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
always say like sometimes like when I want God to move for me, if he moves for me, sometimes we miss it when other people around because we think it's supposed to look a certain way, like his
Mhm.
move. But he's very strategic in how he moves. And sometimes he won't move if you still are attached to certain things. So at that, just being in the isolation season, yeah, I was very sad because it's like, God, like you
Yeah.
taking my life away from me. Like even
Yeah.
like just old relationships that I used to have. My cousin jokes at me all the time because she was like, girl, I like even just like the people being transparent, the guys that I dated, because if the status wasn't hood, I ain't checking for it. Better be straight if you're looking at me,
If you're
right?
looking for me,
If
I
you're
love
looking
it.
at me, you better be straight. But it's not that anymore. And I feel like God healed me from that, you know? And I
Yeah.
feel like he's brought me a very long way. And I feel like that's why I always ask, are you sure me? Because
Yeah.
it's a lot of people that are very clean hands and pure
Mhm.
heart,
Yeah.
but you chose me, the broken one. So but I was broken. He's like a potter and he's putting me back together again. And like I said, he's has those people that need to hear from me. So I don't take it for granted anymore, and I don't think that like I'm less than, or like that I don't have a voice. God has something, and he keeps reminding me daily, like you got to keep pressing forward, because the more I keep pressing forward, the closer that I am towards the mark. So that's why I keep.
Absolutely.
So you often talk about where purpose meets opportunity. What does that mean spiritually to you? Where purpose meets opportunity?
I feel with purpose that it's so much that goes into purpose. I feel that
Yeah,
your interests are in purpose. I feel like your God given gifts are in purpose. What God has
yeah.
predestined for you is in purpose. But I also think that sometimes we get a little lazy and we just
Come on.
we just get a little relaxed. Oh, I'm called. Oh, I'm predestined. And
Yeah.
and that's great. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. But in between meeting that opportunity, there's to be done. Like you were just
It
saying,
is.
there's areas in us that needs to be addressed, right? Before opportunity
Yeah.
knocks. Because it's gonna knock,
Yeah.
but are we
Yeah.
prepared? And
Are
if
you
we're
prepared?
not prepared, we're not gonna be ready for that opportunity.
We're
So
not.
I think it's so vital to understand that yes, you're gifted, yes, you're anointed. Yes, you're saved and Holy Ghost filled. Yes, you're
Yeah.
called, but there's also pieces
Yeah.
of you that still needs work. And if you
Yeah.
ignore those things on the level that you're on, once opportunity opportunity and elevation knocks, you may even go up. I'm not even gonna say you won't elevate because we see it all the time, but the fall
Yeah.
back down
Come on.
is detrimental, because what is not a huge eyesore at this level, once you elevate and then you're more in a fishbowl where everybody can see it,
Yeah.
that's, I feel, when the damage comes. That's when it happens. But we know the things that we should be working on at the level we're on while we're in
Yeah.
expectation of opportunity. But we have to be able to make sure that we're giving those places in us that needs the assistance, needs the deliverance, needs the counseling, needs
Yeah.
the therapy, all of
Yeah.
those things. Make sure that we are preparing ourselves in
Yeah.
that moment. So when that time does come, the opportunity knocks. I seen a quote one time that said, opportunity knocks once, but temptation leans on the doorbell.
It do-
Very true. Very
very true.
true. And if we do not deal with those things before opportunity gets to us, guess what? We're going to be tempted, and we're not going to be in the place or be our very best self that God has called us to be. And it will show. And like I said, I've seen people elevate, go up,
Yeah.
elevate, opportunity knocks.
Yeah.
They're there, they get the opportunity, they elevate. But if you don't deal with what's inside that needs the attention, that needs the healing, that needs the
Hmm.
deliverance, it's going to show. And I'm a
It's
firm
going to show
believer in
immediately.
that.
Pride comes before
Yes.
the fall. It definitely
Yes.
comes. And you have to, first off, you have to admit that something else is going in, that you need to have the
Yeah.
work done. Because sometimes I think admitting is it's what helps us, but when you don't admit and you don't think that there's a problem, like I know that I still have areas that I work on. If an
Me
opportunity
too.
came that I knew I wasn't ready for, I wouldn't take it, only because you have to realize that certain levels, some people are caught up like a lot on titles. And if
Yep.
you have a certain title and at a certain leadership level, you can say something that could potentially ruin somebody's life
Yeah.
based off your title alone. So I just make sure that, like, whatever I'm in, that I'm doing it with excellence, whatever position it is, because like I said, even like my podcast, you never know what people are listening to. I could be the
Yeah.
only voice that they know, and they think that, like, I know the most about the Bible, which I've never claimed to that. But this could be like how they hear the word. Me saying something wrong could potentially mess them up, because they're thinking that, hey, like, that's what it is. It's just like with
Yeah.
religion, and you're going to a certain church and you're taught something for a long period of time. But the thing is, like, I feel like the Bible is based off your own discernment. It's based off your own conviction. Like, you have to read
Mhm.
it yourself. You can't have anybody else to read that for you. They can't tell you what it is, because spiritually, you got to have an intimate relationship with God in order to even,
Mhm.
number one, that the stuff in the book is true. And then you got to know
Absolutely.
how to apply it to your life. So I have a question about NextSeat Innovations. How did God birth NextSeat Innovations in your spirit? Was it a season of stillness or a push of faith that you just jump out there and do it?
Um, I would say it was a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I remember being off work, and it's holiday time. So, either people are taking PTO or, vacation,
Yeah.
or, according to whatever industry you're in, you have
Yeah.
those days off. And I remember just like sitting, and I just felt the unction. I don't know. I can't really explain. I just felt the unction. And I was like, I really enjoy helping people. I've
Mm-hmm.
had the extreme pleasure to serve communities. I had
Yeah.
the pleasure of working with our local and state workforce divisions. And I just
Yeah.
want to be able to make sure that everyone truly has accessibility to resources. And I just really felt the need, like, okay, are you gonna do it or not? Like, when
Yeah.
you said like he doesn't need us, like, I'll give it to somebody else. Like, yeah, so I felt that unction, like, you
Yeah.
could do it. I've called you to do it, but I can't make you do
Yeah.
it. God is a gentleman. I'm not gonna make you. I'm gonna lay it all out.
Yeah.
You can choose ye this day what you're going to do or
Yeah.
not do. But yeah, that was just it. Like, I wanted to do it. I felt like it was something. Did I pause?
Yeah, I think your camera froze for a second. It's frozen.
Uh-oh, did I pause? Okay, I think I got pushed out. Sorry about that. Am I back on?
Brittany, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I think you're still frozen.
Can you hear me okay? All right, let's see. I don't know what happened. Let's see if I move. Okay.
Brittany, can you hear me?
I can't. I have no
No, you
idea what happened. I was like, I have to get
look.
back in because I have to finish my thoughts. Mm,
Well, no, you know, be the enemy trying sometimes.
that's
I
what
got
I
on here one day.
said.
It does. It's okay. It happens. I got on here and was on here talking and didn't even start the stream. So it's good. We're just gonna pick up where we left off. So we were talking about how you started out NextSeat Innovations.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think
And
I was just like saying it was just an unction. I
mhm,
really felt that there was people who were needing the services, people who, don't know where to look for the resources they needed.
yeah,
And I really just felt like a push from God, like, I've called you to do this. I want you to do this, but you have to make a move. And I think I talked a little bit earlier about timing and him saying the time is now. The time is now for you to get this done. And I sat down over a holiday break and I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I am going to build me a
mhm,
website. And I said to God, I said, listen, I don't have $2,000, $3,000 to give out of my pocket for someone to
yeah.
build it for me. I said, but if you would touch my mind and give me the clarity
Come
and
on now,
insight, I
cause
said
he
I can
will.
I can do it. And he did. And he did. And so I just went from there, just researched, how to register a business and sat down. And I remember like I was plugged in for like 2 weeks straight just like building it bit by bit, doing research on, how to properly register your business, things like that. And so I was just
Yeah,
self-taught. And I went with it and I went with it and it worked. And people were very receptive. So many people I've never met in my entire life, all over the country, that have reached out for services
yeah.
and it worked. So just a unction from God, but him saying, okay, the gift is there, the call is there, but you have to do it because God isn't going to make us do anything. We have a
He's not.
choice. You choose to do it. And so just made a choice and jumped.
That's it. And it's crazy because I always talk about permissive will and divine will. It's permissive, or he's permitting us to do certain things because he loves us and he wants us to do it. But that divine will, when it started showing up for you, it's on a whole nother level. Hold on,
It
we have a
is.
question for you, Brittany.
Oh, sure.
She wasn't on when we first got on. Shaylin, she wants to know, what do you do?
Hey, Shaylin. So Shaylin, my background is in workforce development. So I took all of my experience in workforce development plus my education and started NextSeat. And it's twofold. I work with job seekers and businesses. So for job seekers, I do career coaching and I resume write. And for businesses, I grant write. And so those are the two folds for the business. So is geared towards job seekers looking to, land their next seat, their next job, and really need some career coaching and really need some curating of a resume, whether it's revision. I've done a lot of veterans that are exiting out of the military, coming back into civilian life, and really, looking to, have a second career but don't always know how to translate that information into a resume. And then for businesses, again, having them to understand the different types of grants, how to grant search, and how to grant write.
I love that. So, Brittany, that's amazing. You know, sometimes when we start a business and we start doing it, and I think that the vision that we have for ourselves is not the vision that starts showing up and manifesting itself, but it turns out to be way better than what we thought it was going to be. Is there a moment when God's plan was completely different, but it turned out better, but that you had to go through the process to see it through to the end?
Oh, absolutely. So thinking about a time where I was looking to get promoted and I felt like I was ready because we do.
Come
We
on
feel
now,
like we're
because I need
ready.
me another job. I want to get promoted. Everybody thinks that, but
Yeah,
you got to be humble enough to. I didn't. I got promoted, and I was humble enough to admit later on, like, yeah, I shouldn't have been promoted.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because we're ready to jump even when, yeah. we missing toes and everything, but we jumping. So doing this, I thought I was ready. I went
Yeah.
up for the role, and I was against one other person. And so I really felt in my heart, and I thought it was God, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Come on now.
I thought it was God. I thought that was my door. I thought, this is it. I'm going to get this promotion.
Yeah.
Well, what happened was they ended up giving it to the other candidate for the role. And so once she got it, inside I was, really sad about it because I really thought that was my role. And again,
Yeah.
I thought the Lord had said it was my role, but that's another podcast. When you thought you heard, but you did not.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
but it didn't end up being my role. And so once she got that role, I really felt like God was like, I wanted to see how you were going to act.
Yep.
Granted, he never told me it was my role. I just thought, I really kind of felt like it was. I never heard his voice and none of that. But I really felt in my heart that God was saying that was my role.
But sometimes, Brittany,
But
we think that something is ours. Like when we think it's ours, we already made up in our mind what we think it is. So
oh
we
yeah,
don't be hearing God because in our mind, he already said that and he
oh
didn't.
yeah. Because I done decorated that office in my mind. That's my role. What you
Girl,
mean?
what? It's
What you
mine.
talking about? We're
Off the
doing
top.
some melanated browns and some gold accents. What you talking? That's my role. But you know what was so unique? I really felt that God was watching to see how I react.
Oh, yeah.
But the director, a couple weeks later, he came back to me and he said, Brittany, he said, we watched you to see how you were going to act when you didn't get that role. And he said, there's so many people in this office I won't name that have went up for different roles. And because they did not get it, their work ethic changed, their attitude in the workplace changed. He said, but what I noticed about you was that you remained the same. The woman got the role, you served up under her, no problem. And so even thinking back in that season, if I would have came out of character,
Yeah.
if because I'm flesh too. My flesh was like, oh no, no, no,
Yeah,
no,
baby, because
no.
in my mind, I done burned this place down like five
Yes, to the
times.
ground, to the ground. And so it was just like if I would have let my flesh really take over the way, I wanted to, because I was still, I was salty. I'm not gonna lie, I
Yeah.
was salty. It's transparent. We can be real here. I was salty with my Holy Ghost saved, sanctified self, very
Yeah.
salty. Um, and if I would have let that consume me, and wanted to stay in the industry, how would that have translated? And he knew people that I didn't know. I ended up moving and getting a better role than what that
Come on
role
now, better
was.
roll.
So
Come
that's
on
the
now.
thing. That was not my role. You're absolutely right. That wasn't my role. But I felt like there was a lesson in it as well to remain in good character because
Mhm.
eyes were watching. Eyes were
Yeah.
watching me. And so I ended up, getting another role with another company, but that same director vouched for me and will vouch for me to this day.
Yeah.
If I needed him and picked up the phone and said, hey, could you connect me with such and such? With no problem. But
Oh
that's
yeah.
because of the testament of my character that he saw in the workplace. And he was like, we were in shock because that is rare around here. People think, they need these promotions, which granted, we all need a little, elevations, nothing wrong with that.
Come on
But
now,
it just wasn't
elevation.
my role. And if I would have been
Yeah.
in that role, I would have missed a role that was better.
And that's amazing. I think that sometimes, just being in the situation, because sometimes it is fleshly, like we really want something that doesn't even belong to us, and I think that
Mhm.
it also depends on God's timing, because what if you would have turned it up a notch in there, like you
Yeah.
never would have got your role. So during those seasons, like sometimes we have to get tried by fire. That's what I call it. You're getting really tried by fire. What is the scripture that keeps you anchored and walking by faith and not by sight?
Ooh, 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 ooh. Let's see. I would say Jeremiah 29:11.
Mm-hmm.
That has always been something I've held close to me. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to give you hope in the future. So that is one that I hold on to a lot, because
Yeah.
it reminds me that it's not my plan, it is his plan for my life. And when you surrender your life to Christ, you're surrendering your plan and what you think your life should be to him. And so that is one that I hold close to the chest. And then one that may sound a little bit out of the ordinary, is John 9 and 4, when it says, work while it's still day, for night
Hmm.
cometh and no man can work. That always really
Really?
resonates with me. Yes, because I'm like, what God has called me to do, what he has assigned me to do, I have to, and it goes back to timing. I have to do it while there's still allotted time to do it. So don't get tripped up in the small things, things you cannot change, things that God hasn't even called you to change, because you're not called
Yeah.
to every single thing and you're not called to everybody. I
Come,
definitely read the Bible and I
look,
didn't see
repeat
where
that,
Jesus
girl.
prayed for it. You're not called to everybody. I didn't see where Jesus stopped and prayed for everybody.
Everybody.
Even when Bishop was talking about the woman, the issue of blood, she wasn't even on his radar. So he did not engage with everyone. And it's like, I have to remember that I'm not called to solve the world's problems, but I am called to solve a problem. And I'm not a solution to every problem, but I still am a solution to a problem. So
Come
I
on now,
have to
Brittany.
keep that in mind, that, okay, you to do the work God has called you to do while it is still day or while there is still time. Don't trip on the small stuff. Keep pushing forward. Keep the plan, at front of mind. It is his plan that he has for your life. So I know that those scriptures, they don't run together, but they are just
Yeah.
something I hold tight to. It keeps reminding me, the work while it's still day. Do what God has called you to do while you have the time to do it. Because I want to return to God, just completely empty, because I've emptied everything out of me that he's given me. Every gift, every solution, every resource, every
Yeah.
prayer, whatever it is that God has bottled up in this earthly treasure, I want to leave it here. Heaven don't need what we got, earth needs
Come on
it.
now. That's it. My two, I think they kind of go together. Psalm 34. Many are the Bishop been saying this a lot, and I was holding on to this because I was going through a season of season of pressing, like getting
Mm.
pressed. And many are the afflictions of the righteous, but God will deliver them
Yes.
from them all, girl. And when I tell
Somebody
you,
pass the offering bucket, because
cut it on now. Pass it on down to the middle of the aisle. Because the thing is, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but
yes,
God, and that's why I always tell people, regardless of what you're going through, there is 100% victory in all the
yes,
circumstances. So many are
yes,
the afflictions of the righteous, but God will deliver them, not out of some of the stuff, but all of it.
all of
And
them.
then the
Oh
next one
yes.
is Psalms 91. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High God shall abide under the shadows of the Almighty. Those are my two that I hold dear
Yes.
to my heart because I feel like that those two really, I feel like, let me know who I am in the earth, who God
Yes.
called me to be. Because it doesn't matter what's going on around me. Like, He keeps me anchored with those
Yes.
scriptures, and it keeps me in my mind to press forward because I know that with those two, if I rest in His Spirit, that no matter what I see, there's still 100% victory. Even when it don't look like
Yes.
it's a victory, it's still 100% victory in every single circumstance. So Brittany,
Amen.
how do you feel like in your businesses and stuff that you keep God at the center of your leadership and business situations? I remember like I say a prayer every morning because I feel like God gotta go before me and like get His people
Yes.
because I don't want them saying the wrong thing. So I
Yes.
ask God to allow me to see His people how He
Yes.
see them, because people be turning up a little bit sometimes, but I ask
Yes.
God, like, please allow me to see your people how you see them. And I realize sometimes I think that when I'm looking from a spiritual standpoint, that it helps me not see people in a fleshly
Yes.
situation. So I'm starting to see the spiritual part and not the fleshly part. So I think that that helps me to deal with people. How do you keep God at the center of your leadership and business decisions?
I think same. I always recognize the people as God's people. Like, these are
Yeah.
not my people, Lord. These
Yeah.
are, and it sounds very cliche, right? In elementary, like, what else? But that's really it. It's like, all right, Lord, these your people. I
Come on
love
now.
you. I have devoted myself to you
Yeah.
and to doing, what you called me to do and walking it out to its fullest extent. And so I'm always asking him, help me,
Yeah.
because non-provoked Brittany and provoked Brittany is two different
Two
people.
different people, baby.
I'm sweet as pie, unprovoked. Sweet as pie, shy ba ba. I'm your girl.
Hey, Shabo. Good, but the provoke
Provoked.
one?
That is where I am working out my salvation, like Paul, with fear and trembling.
Yeah.
Because when things are going great, when you are dealing with people with business or any capacity where you're dealing
Yeah.
with humans, if things are going good, they're receptive or they're appreciative, great. But it's when you are provoked, and that
Yeah.
is, I'll be transparent, what I am working on. I
Yeah.
try to, I try to use my nice emotional intelligence skills, and I try to,
Yeah.
de-escalate, because this is business. You can grab anybody that's running a business. It is
Yeah.
not rainbows and sunshine.
It's
It is
definitely
not
not.
all the time. And so I try to remain in the stance of, Lord, these are your people. I'm with you, because then it's, Lord, get your people, get
That's
your
it.
son, get your daughter,
Get your
get your
daughter.
daughter, you
Because
know.
that's the thing. He got to get them because they will make you take it there.
Yes. And you know
And that's,
what is always so unique to me is, I can't remember where it is, but in New Testament, when it says that the Lord doesn't tempt us, but is our own lustful desires that
yes.
literally lures us away. And that's the thing. I'm always talking to my girlfriends, and we're always laughing because I'm just like, man, the temptation. Like when Jesus
It
told the
is.
disciples, look, the prince of this world is coming. He ain't gonna find nothing in me. But you, Peter, you need to go ahead, because it ain't gonna take long. He gonna roll up over here and gonna provoke you or tempt you, and that's just gonna be lights out. We have to, have
That's
to
it,
start it over
Brittany.
again.
I still work on it because as soon as I say, let me tell you something, I
Yeah,
already know it's about to be over with. And I'm still, like I said, God is still doing a great work inside of me because I've come a very long way. But let me tell you something,
yeah.
once I
And it's
can get
all
over
of
that
us,
part,
Lala. You're not by yourself. It's we all are good, unprovoked. We are precious in this sight. We are just shababan, laying hands, prophesying, all of that,
yes.
unprovoked.
But I can definitely say I talked about this on a previous podcast about how I went through a season of where I was just so mean, but I
Yeah.
realized that that meanness translated into the trauma that I had experienced of
Mm,
just being let down so much in life. And I felt like I was a mean person. I'm past that part. I feel like I'm healed from the hurt. I forgave and I moved on past that. And I even feel lighter from that season that I went through of darkness and like it's the unforgiveness that
yeah.
had a heavy it had a chokehold on me because I was so mean during that season. But now I'm not mean, but I still would read your rights if you act
Yeah.
up. So I'm praying that God will do a great work inside of me to help me to do that better. I don't get provoked, so I'm not easily provoked.
Hmm.
But if somebody just keep on and on and on
Yeah.
and on,
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
let Jesus lead me.
Yeah. Same here. And I think that's all of us, right?
Yeah.
And you try really hard and you want to, but sometimes, like you said, if you just consistently provoke that, yeah, sometimes that can, lead. And that shows shows us our weaknesses and places where we need to really, work harder to make sure we respond differently. But again, you're not by yourself. We're not
Yeah.
by ourselves. There's other people, that can attest that this definitely happens.
Gabby Levert posted most important you took accountability and forgave. You're right. I actually did and I always say that even like the situation like with even my mom and like my family, I realized that um my mom was the same age that I was raising us. So I think that sometimes I overcompensate to my kids because I work so much and I overcompensate. But I realize that I don't have all the answers and my mom didn't have all the answers then. So I give her grace now. Whether
Yeah.
unforgiveness was, I extend grace because she was just a 38-year-old girl
Hmm.
like me raising some kids. And you see what
Yep.
just happened to my kids. I almost gave them to a different family tonight.
Yeah, I know. That is so true, giving them more grace. And it's like we don't have it all figured out. And now
Yeah.
we finally understand y'all definitely didn't have it all figured out because
Yeah.
look at us. But they did the best they could with
Could
what
well
they
what they
had.
had.
Yeah.
We have
It,
more resources. We have therapists. We have
yeah.
friends that we can talk to. We have wise counsel that can give us advice. Like I don't know if my mama had that, but I know that like moving forward, I want to be free. When I get to them
Yeah.
pearly gates, Jesus, my mama ain't gonna be up there with me. I'll be up there by
Right.
myself. My kids ain't
Yeah.
either. I'm gonna be up there
Right.
alone, and he gonna ask me
Yeah.
the questions, and he gonna
Yes.
ask me questions about my life. Nobody else.
That's
So I
right.
just think that Gabby, just extending grace to people, and also to taking accountability of the situation and saying like, "Hey, I'm here, but how could I get here?" And the unforgiveness, letting go of that, because I
Yeah.
think that that lifts the weight off of you when you holding in unforgiveness in your heart and not being able to feel somebody forgive someone. You can't move to the next level in your life if you still are holding
Right.
on to unforgiveness. So that's just my take on it, and that's been my personal experience with unforgiveness, that it had a chokehold on me, a serious
Mm.
chokehold over my life. Like I felt this heavy weight, I was tired. It was like in the form of depression. That was a chokehold. Of unforgiveness brings depression. That's
Yes,
the
it
word. So
does.
I came through that season. So I would just say that anybody, if you are, struggling with unforgiveness, I feel it in my spirit. If you're struggling with unforgiveness, pray to God and ask him to remove that unforgiveness out of your heart, and pray. And while you're praying that unforgiveness, see the person's face that you're wanting the unforgiveness for. Look at their face, have a picture of them, and pray that prayer, and he'll give that to you. You'll have peace that surpasses understanding. But
Mm.
I'm sorry about that.
No, no, well said. And again, very true. Very, very true.
So Brett, you wear so many hats. You're a wife, you're a
Oh,
mom, you're a leader,
listen,
and you're a believer of the
listen.
gospel. How do you stay grounded in all that? Because that's a lot. Hallelujah.
Oh my God. Listen, I got here today. I was in South Carolina. I was at South Carolina State speaking,
Mhm.
and I took a plane, came back in to Atlanta, got
Yeah.
home, had to go right into mommy, had to cook, had to
Yep.
iron clothes, all those things. And then I had one leadership meeting and a board meeting. And then I
Yeah.
jumped on with you. So
Oh yeah. Thank
so the
you.
yeah, of course, but the balancing of it, I will say, outside of God, I think the support from my husband is vital. The fact
Yeah.
that I could, jump on a plane and go here and go there, or just devote time to my interests is a huge testament to not only his belief, in me, but also just, our marriage and the support that we try to show each other. And then also, I think my kids, I
Yeah.
have one son that is in college, so he's
Mhm.
19, he'll be 20 next month. And then I have two small ones that are in elementary. I have one son who's also in elementary, of course. He is 6. And then Kennedy, she's 8. And one
Okay.
thing that I love that they see is that mommy works.
Yep.
And I love that my daughter sees that mommy works.
Mhm.
And, she understands, like you were saying, you work hard. And sometimes she'll say, Mommy, all you do is work. Like every
Yeah,
time I
that's
see
what
you,
she
just
says.
your
My baby
laptop
be
is
know.
open, or
Yeah.
you're working, or you're shooing me away because you're in a meeting telling me to be quiet. Um but I do that because I want them to see, a
Yeah.
hardworking parent, and so they can know, that I went after my dreams because I want
Yeah.
them to go further than me. Like, I think that's
Yeah.
all of us as parents. Like,
Absolutely.
we went further than our parents,
Mhm.
hopefully, and you want your kids to go further than
Absolutely.
you. Like you said earlier, like you felt like, okay, even though we're where we're supposed to be, but you felt like, okay, if I would have had this knowledge earlier,
Yeah.
maybe I'd be further.
I
Well,
would have
I
been
can.
ruling the world. I would have been president of the United States of
Yes,
America.
yeah, yeah. If we had the knowledge, if we had the
Yeah.
exposure, where could we be? And even looking at this
Yeah.
generation, they have so many resources that we didn't have. But then the previous generation look at us and like, well, y'all have resources that we definitely didn't have. And so every
Yeah.
generation gets better. And, we're hoping that, they go further than what we did, but we, serve as their first role model. So, having your family, especially your kids, to
Yeah.
see someone who is, just pushing forward, not letting anything stop them, even
Yeah.
though they don't know the whole story, right? We
They
cry in the
don't know the
shower.
whole story at all. I know,
we cry.
right?
we cry in the shower. We cry when y'all sleep. But that definitely outside of God, keeps me grounded, keeps me going and pushing forward.
I love that. And I think that what I'm going to be honest, I used to work all the time and not take breaks. Like even with my kids, I was just working. I would pass them off to family on the weekend, but I'm going to tell you something that changed that for me. My grandmother passed away, and my mom, I think she was hurt at the time, and she was like, whenever you would come here, you always had your laptop open and working. And I realized that during that time of my grandmother, those last couple years that I went there, I was always working. I didn't spend time with her. I was there, but I was working. I had my laptop. So I think that just remembering that and remembering like during those times I could have been spending time with my grandmother and I didn't, I think that that's what makes me create balance because I can't get that back because she's gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
how
I
do you
definitely
protect your
can identify that. I can
Yeah, so
identify with that.
that really hurt. I know that my mom was hurt when she said it, but that really hurt my heart because I can't get that back. And I was devastated. My
Right.
grandma was everything to me, and I can't get that back. So I think that I cherish family a little bit more, and I try to make sure that I'm available. When I say I'm going to be available, I'm available without having my laptop open because I think that
Yeah.
that really crushed my heart when she brought that to my attention.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. I lost my dad in April,
Hmm.
and I moved up here. My dad and my mother, both of them, they lived about 5 hours south.
Yeah,
So I came up here right before COVID, and it got to the point where I kind of seen the decline, and I wanted to be there more. I wish
yeah,
I could have been there more. So I understand and identify with what you're saying. And even in that, you're talking about forgiveness, forgiving
yeah,
ourselves,
yeah,
ourselves, just others, but ourselves, because that's something I had to come to peace with. He's gone, he's
yeah,
resting, and I did the best that I could. And I know he would be fussing at me like, girl, I'm like, no, because that's just how he was. But
yeah.
I definitely identify with what you're saying. And
Hmm.
learning to have more balance is something I've been
Yeah,
working with, within myself. Is when the day ends, let it end,
yeah,
and separate your work from your family, spend time with your family,
yeah.
so we won't form those regretful feelings.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. So, Brittany, we're at the end, and I just have like a
Okay.
question so you can give the people a little motivation. So, for the person that's feeling stuck or feeling like they want to begin to start seeking God because like when they hear certain people, it ignites something in people sometime, and they feel like they want to move forward. So for someone feeling stuck and that someone wants to seek direction from God and have a relationship with Him, what would you say to encourage them to move forward with their relationship and to trust Him?
Absolutely. My advice would be this. I would say carve out time. It doesn't have to be 45
Yeah,
minutes, it don't have to be an hour, but carve out true time where you can, be detached from your laptop, detached from your phone, detached from social media, but be completely detached and begin to truly seek Him through prayer. And prayer is
yeah,
just a conversation. And
yeah,
that's something I wish I would have digest early on in my walk, is that what I thought prayer was what I saw in church, what I saw growing up. But sometimes prayer is just a simple conversation. Sometimes it's a letter. Sometimes it's just walking and singing. It's whatever makes sense to you and
yeah.
whatever you feel that God is leading you to do. I will also say reading, so getting in your
I'm
word.
reading.
I
Yeah,
always suggest starting with the Gospels. I feel like that's a good starting point. Um, or there's so many reading plans available. You could use AI and say, hey,
come
map
on
me
now,
out a reading plan,
man.
for the next 30 days, and it'll do just that for you. So I think getting in your word, spending that time. I seen someone put in the comments fasting,
Yep.
that's a good one too, because you're turning down your plate, you're really isolating yourself so you can really begin to hear from the Lord even more. So
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
a good one too. And again, thinking back when I first started trying to fast without food, child, I almost
Come on
died.
now. Was going to glory immediately.
Immediately, you could be like, "Hey, what you doing here?" But
I
even
was
even with
fasting.
that, there's really good books that talks about fasting, so you can understand even how to prepare your body to fast,
Yeah. You have to.
and then different types of fasts is, 6 to 6, 6 to noon. You build yourself up to be able to do, full fast, unless the Lord himself is pulling you, then you know that
Yeah.
that's
Then
different.
you
He's going to
know.
give you the strength. He's going to strengthen you for it. But yeah, I would say that carve out some time. Doesn't have to be a long time. Start with 5 or 10 minutes. Just dedicate it,
Yeah.
and grow over time. And this is a relationship. Relationships aren't built overnight. Not the ones that's gonna last. They're not built
Come on now.
overnight. It takes time.
Takes
And so
time and a
if you
constant
mess
yes for
up,
God.
yes, and if you mess up, that's okay. The sun comes up tomorrow. Thank God. He gives us grace. So the
Grace
sun
and
comes up
mercies are
tomorrow.
new every day.
Every day, try again. And if you mess up that day, try again. You
Try
mess up that day,
again.
try, keep trying. Keep trying. So yes, if
That's
that
how it
was anything
works.
I could leave, keep trying, find you some time, get in your word, look up scriptures, as it relates to anything that you're going through, anything that you're
That's it.
experiencing, to find you some strength and some understanding. And also,
Hmm.
I would say lastly, get in a good church.
Yeah.
Get around like-minded people. That's extremely important. Sometimes I come to church and I'm like, man, I needed this. Like,
Yeah.
even if I don't stop and have a deep conversation, sometimes just the presence of people that understand. I remember, I'll leave
Yeah.
with this. One day I was at church and I was having a hard time, was going through some things. And I remember a woman walked up and she opened up my hand and she put a mustard seed in my hand and closed
Really?
it. And she whispered
Girl, you
to
always have
me,
encounters.
yes, she said, this all it takes. That's exactly what she said. This is all that it takes. And I knew
Let me
exactly
find
what
out.
she was talking about.
I knew Jesus lived at Tabernacle of Praise. Was it
He
at
do.
TOP?
Hey, at
He in
TOP.
there.
Yeah, it was at TOP. So get in a church. Get in a church. Don't let anyone deter you saying, oh, you don't need to go to church, or you don't need to sit up on the. You do. You do.
You
Get in
have
a
to.
good Bible teaching
It's the
church.
fellowship. It's the fellowship.
Yes.
And Bishop teaches about, he teaches about faith and he teaches about like miracles and stuff like that. It's different from just having the faith and knowing how to, he gives you principles to apply them to your life to be a good steward and
Yes.
also to be the best version of yourself. That's why I just enjoy under his leadership because it makes sense to me. He
Yes.
breaks it down to where it makes sense of how I can
Yes.
apply it to my life. So I just
Yes.
love that. And also too, if you that don't have a church home, you can stream our church. So I'm going to put the link here. But thank you
Yes.
so much, Brittany, for
Thank
just
you.
reminding us that purpose is not a destination; it's a journey with God. And, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your insights with us tonight. I pray that God blesses
Absolutely.
you, continue to bless your business, bless your family, bless your everything that you have. And I pray that everything that your hands touch, that it's a success for the kingdom of God. Thank you so much again for joining us. And I hope that you have a blessed and prosperous week.
Thank you. You too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, everybody. So thank you for tuning in tonight to Heaven with Lala. I hope that today's conversation gave you something to think about, something to heal from, and something to move toward. Remember, becoming more like Christ isn't about perfection. It's about progress, it's about surrender and holding on to your identity while laying down the things that no longer serve you purpose, baby. So keep showing up for yourself. Keep leaning into God, and above all, keep doing the hard work because that's what you have to do. Because guess what? You are called for so much more in the kingdom of God. And remember, heavy is the head that wears the crown.